Hello and welcome to another level 3 video. Today we're going to talk about process aids and specifically antifoams and deformers. So first of all, what are antifoams and deformers? An antifoam is something that will prevent the formation of foam, whereas a deformer will get rid of foam once it's been formed. The mechanism for antifoams and deformers are the same, but first of all we've got to really understand what is a bubble. So a bubble foam, it's just like a balloon really. It's a very thin membrane where the air pressure inside the membrane is greater than the air pressure outside of the membrane. How do we get rid of balloons? We pop them. How do we get rid of the bubbles of foam? Just the same way, we pop them. Clearly it's not sensible to go around popping them all with a pin, so we have to have a chemical way of popping these things. And we need to understand the nature of these antifoams and deformers. Antifoams and deformers tend to be hydrophilic substances, so they don't mix with water, they are insoluble in water. And there are two types really. Often they're liquids, and the type of liquids we often use are either silicones or high molecular weight alcohols, things like paraffins for example. Or sometimes we use solids, so hydrophobic solids. And the mechanism, how does it actually work? What we need to do, just like a pin will penetrate the membrane, the rubber membrane of a balloon and make it pop, then we need to create small particles or small droplets of liquid that will penetrate the membrane of the bubble and make it pop, let all the air escape out. So, little graphic example here. Imagine that this is the membrane of a bubble. Imagine we've got a bubble going all around here and this is the wall of the bubble. Then we need to introduce some type of hydrophobic particulate matter. Might be a solid, more generally it's a liquid. And what happens is it penetrates into it and now pop, the bubble has gone. This can then go on to penetrate more bubble walls. But we need to understand the factors that will affect the efficiency of the performance of antifoams and deformers, because they can be influenced particularly by particle size. So we said we need to penetrate the membrane. Just watch this video now. If that large, relatively large droplet is going through some shear forces, it's going through baskets, it's going through pumps, then there's every chance that these droplets will be broken down into smaller and smaller and smaller droplets. So here's a small droplet now. Watch what happens as this penetrates the membrane of the bubble. Here we go, it's penetrated the membrane. Now the membrane is sealing up behind it and it comes out the other side and the bubble stays as it is. So this is one of the problems of high shear forces in paper making systems when we need to use things like antifoams and deformers. If we're using liquid materials, then the droplet size can become too small. So size is important. Sometimes as an alternative, the droplet may not penetrate through and have the membrane close up behind it. It may just hit it, and because it's so small, it doesn't have enough momentum to go through the membrane, and therefore it will bounce off. So, other things that will affect performance. Environmental shear. If you've got a lot of environmental shear, or if the antifoam is staying in the system for a long time and it's repeatedly damaging foam and going through pumps and things, then it's going to lead to a breakdown in droplet size, and what you'll get then is what we've just seen on the previous slide. It won't do its job. Sometimes you have competing chemicals there. We might have other hydrophobic chemicals there. For example, wet strength agents or sizing agents. Because the antifoams are hydrophobic and because these are hydrophobic, those two things can get together. And then what happens? They cancel each other out. So the antifoam will no longer act as an antifoam, and the wet strength agent will no longer act as a wet strength agent. They'll just combine potentially into a sticky chemical that can cause you other problems when it deposits on rolls, or if you're very lucky, you'll only waste your money and it will go through the wire and out to the effluent plant. Final thing about affecting performance is the concentration of these things. If the antifoam concentration is too low, there's not enough water, there's not enough droplets there to pop all the bubbles, so we won't get rid of all our foam. If we have too high a concentration of antifoam, then that will actually become the material that will form the membrane, and therefore it will actually increase foaming and not get rid of it. So too much antifoam can actually cause more foam. Final thing that will affect is the presence of high valence metal ions. This is important because the antifoam or defoamer materials will interact with these high charge ions, and it will reduce the electrostatic interaction between the molecule and the film, and therefore you won't get the right sort of penetration. So a quick summary now of what we've talked about in this system. So antifoams and defoamers are low solubility hydrophobic molecules. A mixture of solid and liquid materials is often the best combination, not just the solids, not just the liquids, but a combination of solid particles that can't be brought down by pumps and screens, and liquids is the best combination for a good antifoam. Droplet size is the biggest influence, and then finally interaction with other chemicals can negate the value of both of those chemicals. Okay, well, thank you for listening to this video, and I hope you'll follow us on any of this social media.